Super excited to be here, guys. This being the first seminar that everybody's a part of. Now, Coach Ryan did one last week that was really good as well, but I know a lot of you guys didn't get to make it to that one. So we want to bring this content to you on a regular basis just to make sure that we're keeping everybody up to speed on all of the changes that we need to make that are required to, get through this time. This is not ideal for most of us. And I want to start off by just letting you know that, like, as a Fit in 42 family, we are all in this together. So you need to know that you're going to have resources through the entire Coachella Valley. And I'm going to challenge you guys at the end of this to communicate with one another. And if someone in Palm Springs, hit the landmine and you found, they just stopped chicken up at Stater Brothers here in Palm Springs, like, I want you to be able to spread the word. That way people in Palm Desert or La Quinta can kind of make their way out there and get what they need. Because like I said, we are all in this together. So there's going to be a lot of challenges, and there's probably a lot of questions you guys have about all of these nutrition stuff. Most important thing is to make sure that you are staying prepared. And that's kind of why I want, really the point of having this seminar is to make sure that we're focusing around nutrition, but just giving you a different perspective on how you can approach your nutrition and your overall experience through this time by making sure that your number one priority is focusing on that nutrition during this time. All right. So I want to start off with a quick little quote that I was scrolled past, and it kind of caught my attention. I thought it'd be pretty cool to share with you guys. And it is by Mackenzie Lee. It says, "It is not failure to readjust my sails to fit the waters I find myself in." And right now, I mean, you guys can all attest to this. Like, we're in some pretty deep waters right now, or rather we're in some uncharted territory. So right now we need to be willing to adjust that sail at any given moment. You got to be ready to adjust it at every single time. And that's not just with your nutrition. That's just what we're going to focus on today. But just think about the everyday challenges that you're having to adjust at the moment. It's a lot going on. And for most people, it's very overwhelming. It's maybe too much to have to deal with. So we want to make the nutrition part easier for you to have to worry about, make that part easier. And now you're experienced and you have skin in the game when it comes to dealing with your nutrition under certain circumstances. So the next time this comes around, or maybe, when you're traveling or you go on vacation, like, you remember this moment here, and you can carry that with you forever moving forward. So, all right, so we're dealing with COVID-19, and I just want to start by debunking a few people out there who have started rumors saying stuff that, like, vegan diets have been shown to prevent COVID-19. That's crap. I don't know who started that, but that's just absolutely false. There's even been talks about carnivore diets having an advantage, or keto diets having an advantage when it comes to COVID-19. This is so new. There have not been studies. There hasn't had time to be studies done to be able to provide any type of legitimately feedback for these kinds of claims. So I just want to start off by there. If any of you guys have heard anything like that, it's crap. We're not going to even go along that. Now, keto, I will say though, the keto diet has one test that did find some benefits when fighting influenza. Influenza and COVID-19, two separate things. So I just wanted to kind of get that out the way, just in case anybody had that question. You could just cross it off. All right, guys. So starting off, let me just start off by covering the basics. When it comes to nutrition, we talk a lot about, calories, and we deal with a lot of the number stuff inside our studios. But something that we don't talk about as much, or a lot of, unless it's particular circumstances, would be macronutrients. And so that's kind of the focal point of today. I want that to be. And first, we got to establish what macronutrients are, right? So macronutrients fall into a category of three basic macronutrients, and then there's also micronutrients that fall underneath those categories. Your macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fat, right? So that's kind of the makings of what your macronutrients are. And that's going to be kind of the bulk of what we stick on today, right? Now, when we talk about protein, all right, what do we know about protein? Building blocks of muscle, okay? Helping to maintain muscle. So we know that protein is an essential part of what we do in our everyday lives. If you're not having enough protein, you cannot build muscle. If you can't build muscle, you can't burn more fat. That's just what we know, okay? Now, on the other side of that, there's also the fact that, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the more, so each time you consume protein, right, you have to burn a certain amount of calories to digest that. Well, for every gram of protein, you're going to use more calories essentially to have to digest that protein as opposed to carbs or fats. So protein in itself is going to be good, right? There's been questions, how much protein can I have? Is there such thing as having too much protein? And it really comes down to the real question is more so like how much protein you can have at one serving, but how much will be utilized, right? Basically, if you have a lot of protein, it's going to take a lot longer to digest. Your body will break it down, but how it's utilized just becomes a slower process. Okay. Now with carbs, it's basically sugars. I mean, if you put it in simple terms, I've said this to a couple of you guys. A roll of bread, a bowl of rice, and a can of soda all have roughly the same amount of grams of carbs, right? But obviously they have different fat, different vitamins, and different other ingredients and stuff in them. But as far as like the total grams of carbs, they're about the same, but some of them have other contents that aren't really as beneficial. And that kind of leads me into the different types of carbs. We have fast digesting carbs, slow digesting carbs. Any of you guys that have done any of our programs, you know that we usually stick with the carbs that are on the lower part of that glycemic index, which basically means that they're going to take a little longer to digest, right? Which is going to keep you fuller a lot longer. That combined with an adequate amount of protein in a meal is going to make sure that it keeps you satiated until your next meal. So there's that balance, right? And then obviously those bad foods, anything like white bread, crackers, soda, just anything high starch, really, it's going to digest super fast. And those are the carbs that you can snack on all day and you can just keep going and you just there's no stopping you, right? Because those digest so quickly where you just can continue to consume them. So that's kind of how that works. It just depends on what type of carbs. We usually keep your carb intake on a lower glycemic index. And that's just typically what we stick with because we know that that's what's going to work overall. So going back into protein, protein is, again, it's going to be the most important part of what we are doing. So raise your hand if you just want to get a quick show of hands here. Raise your hand if you skip breakfast, or if you've ever found yourself skipping breakfast at some time, right? Now, anybody who's tried working out on an empty stomach, and I know there's been a few of you guys, probably wasn't the best idea, right? So that's just that goes for like protein. Protein is gonna be one of those things where you can't really play catch up when it comes to protein because of what I said earlier. It takes a lot longer to digest and how that works. It's not something that you can really play catch up with. So I always really stress, if you are an early 5 a.m., let's say you work out at 5 a.m., right? So we're gonna talk exactly about that. Protein is perfectly fine to have. Any of my Palm Desert 5 a.m. people and who have been working out 5 a.m. consistently, if they're not taking protein shakes, you need to start, because you got to have something going into that first workout in order to give yourself something to use, like some type of energy. Calories are fuel. Calories are energy, right? So if you're going into a workout with nothing, right, you're basically going on zero energy. Now, some people can sustain that. There's a very few select amount of people who can train themselves to sustain that, and that's okay. But for the most part, you can get far better as far as like optimizing your entire results. And that's what we're trying to do, I think, is like everybody can agree. We're trying to optimize, what we can get out of our studios. So making sure that you are having your protein before your workouts, even if it's at 5 a.m., even if you double your serving protein, your protein shake that you normally take with you or have after your workout, because everybody should have one, double that serving size up, right? Drink, sip half of it on the way to the gym. Okay. You have your water, whatever, during your workout, and then drink the other half after your workout. That's not too much protein. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So some of you guys are saying, I don't want it to come back up. So that's why you got to experiment with it. You can't just go straight to chugging a protein shake right before your workout. It's like kind of, when you wake up, first thing you get a bottle of water, crack it open, right? And then as soon as you're done with that water, as soon as you take a few sips of water, start throwing back that protein shake. Give it like, unless you're one of those people who runs like 5 minutes to the gym, then you're in trouble because you got to throw it back. But for the most of us, I think majority of us give ourselves at least 30, maybe 45 minutes before we get to the gym. So you have a little bit of a window to get there, but you also have to experiment with it. You may not be able to drink an entire protein shake before you get there, but you can at least have something. And the reason why we stick with protein is because we know, is Jerry's best friend actually Jerry? That's a mystery. I know.
I'm not sure who you're.
So that's kind of a, and we'll get into more like options and stuff like to help you guys out with giving you ideas of what you can do. But I just wanted to kind of touch on like why protein is so important and why we stress having, more of it, more than less is really what we say. All right. And then of course we go to the fats. Now fats being kind of on the bottom end here. There's nothing wrong with fats. Of course, there's good fats, bad fats. The good fats being the unsaturated fats, nuts, seeds, avocados, fish, olives, like those good healthy fats. And those provide a lot of nutrients and vitamins and, good for our heart health and joint health, all that good stuff. Then there's your saturated fats, chips, butter, milk, cheese, sweets, like all those things, the things that we can eat a ton of, those are the ones that are the worst for us. Okay. So I just want to kind of cover like what macronutrients are. Now there's all the other vitamins. There's a lot of other stuff that falls into the micronutrients underneath those categories that can be kind of more of a focal point if you need it. But for the most part, if you focus on your macronutrient intake, you're going to be good. All right. Now, when it comes to tracking food, all right, now it's a very fine line because most people use the excuse of, I don't have the time to do it. Or, I'm working right now. It's crazy right now. And a lot of you guys maybe still are working, but a lot of you guys probably aren't working right now. Right. So now you kind of can't use that excuse. And even if you are still working, there are ways to make sure that you just kind of plug and play as you go when it comes to tracking your food. And if at the end of the day, if you want to know how much calories need to come in, you got to know how many calories are going out first. Right. Now, the easiest way, if you're gonna, so there's this whole argument right now, is tracking macronutrients going to be optimal or is tracking calories going to be optimal? Like which one is better? Well, the answer is if you're tracking macronutrients, like by definition, you're tracking your calories. Because if we know that your calories is basically going to be their units of energy, let's put it that way. All right. And then so for a carbs and protein, it's 4 calories per gram of each carb and each protein. And then with fats, it's almost double that. It's about 9 grams or 9 calories per gram of fat. So that's why we stay away from really high fat, because then if you're having really high fat, so I'll say it one more time. So calories are units of energy, right? And if we break it down in terms of the macronutrients and how much each macronutrient measures to as a unit, carbs and proteins are 4 calories per gram. So 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories. 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. So that's kind of how that breaks down. And that's going to make a lot more sense in a bit when I get into like the equations and stuff. And then on the other side of that, Yazio is a great food tracking app, quick and easy to enter after each meal since we always have our phones next to us anyways. That's very true. Yeah, and there's a few different apps too that we can talk about, and if any of them are better than others. It's really a preference thing. Like if you're used to using MyFitnessPal, you can use MyFitnessPal. If you're used to using Yazio, you can use that one. It's really just like what you kind of used to. But for the most of us, we haven't ventured into this whole rabbit hole of macronutrients and like what that actually is. Most of us have kind of stuck with clean eating, right? Clean eating is kind of like what we've really taught you guys from the get-go. Macronutrients just kind of goes to higher levels and to like deeper levels. Really allows you to focus on a little bit more detail. I'll answer that question at the end, Ellie. Yeah. But so clean eating is kind of what we've been teaching you guys, right? We stick with non preservatives, non-GMO. Basically, like we stick to just kind of organic. Let's put it that way, right? So anything you can pick, pull, or kill, that's kind of what we stick to. That's what like the basic definition of clean eating is. So for the majority of us, that's kind of what we've been focusing on. And when it comes to these types of changes, like at this time right now, the biggest conflict is going to be you're used to clean eating in a certain setting. So like you're used to clean eating in a certain setting to where you wake up, you go to work each day, you go to the gym, you're running all these. So you're burning a lot of calories that you can't really account for in your daily lives. Now we're not necessarily doing that, or maybe we're not doing as much. So we have to learn that when that happens, you have to adjust the amount of food that's coming in now. Macronutrient tracking, or just like being able to count your macros, allows you to get those fine details in. And so that's kind of the angle that I'm coming at you guys with, is that if you are struggling with figuring out, okay, I'm not moving as much as I was, but I'm eating the same. Is that going to add up? Probably not, because now you're probably not in the correct deficit that you need to be. I'm going to give you guys an example. All right. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And we're going to go to, let's see here. I'm going to go to this chart that I was looking at. And I want you guys to look at this chart here. All right. And so what you see here is, let's say this is just like person A. Maintenance calories is 2,300 calories, right? And so let's say the deficit right here. All right, so let's say person A here, we'll call him Jerry. Jerry, let's say, consumes 2,300 calories, or his 2,300 calorie is basically a maintenance, right? So he's gonna eat less than that. That's saying that basically his exertion, he's putting out 2,300 calories, right? So now we know if Jerry wants to burn fat, he needs to eat less than that. He needs to be in a negative deficit. So he's going to choose a 500 calorie deficit. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he's going to be having 1,800 calories consistently, right? And what happens on Friday and Saturday though? Jerry goes out for dinner, a couple of drinks. Then after the drinks, we get some more food. So you see how that can mess up your entire week. So a lot of you guys that are really good during the week, but how many of you guys maybe struggle in the weekends? So this has to be something that we need to either learn to fix. Luckily, right now you guys really can't go anywhere. That's probably the only thing you got going for you, is you can't really go anywhere right now, right? Jerry had a fun weekend. Pizza, spaghetti, beer, you name it. Jerry went to town. That's basically what we learned there. Now, luckily, again, like you guys really don't have access to all that stuff, which is probably going to be a better thing. But you got to have balance, and that balance is like, it's very, very easy to find yourself in that same position as that chart that I just showed you guys. And a lot of you guys are like sitting there shaking your heads because that that's you, or that's been you, or you fall into that category and you're like, oh, that's why I wasn't getting results. That's why I wasn't getting the results that I should have been having, is because during the weekends, I wasn't as consistent as during my weekdays. And to top that off, you know, maybe you weren't even getting in your workouts on the weekends, or you weren't staying consistent with that as well. So basically, there has to be that balance. The number one issue you guys are going to run into right now is going to be I call it CICO, calories in, calories out. CICO. Okay. I'm going to keep saying that. CICO, calories in, calories out. Calories in, basically it's your food consumed. Okay. Calories out now, again, this becomes tricky because in this point in time right now, a lot of us maybe aren't doing as much. Even if it's like non-exercise activity, like that still counts for calories. That could be like up to 500 calories. So like those are calories that we really can't count into our intake because we're not doing it anymore. It's that simple. So the way we track calories out, this is going to be pretty cool because for the majority of us, Noel says he's eating cereal right now, and he needs to stop. Everybody write Noel some direct messages. So everybody who's weighed in at any of our studios, you should have seen a number underneath one of your charts that said, you know, basal metabolic rate, BMR, right? And then it had a number, right? So what it does is based on all of your metrics that you put into the system, right? So it gets your height, age, weight, gender, body fat percentage. It takes all of that into an equation, and it says, okay, so this person on average is going to burn, based on all of the readings, is going to burn this many calories. Now that's not even including though any sort of your exercise activity or your non-exercise activity. So now it's learning how to add that to that number and then say, okay, now this is roughly the ballpark of how many calories are going out. And then you can use that and say, okay, now I can consume this many calories. Let's say 500 calories. We'll stick at that deficit. Under that, right? And then you just it's trial and error at that point. You got to play with it, or you can have a little more of a smarter approach. Okay, so you can find your maintenance calories, and you can actually find and break down your macronutrients based on you as an individual. Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. Okay, easiest way to do that is going to be to find your maintenance calories, which is number one, kind of doing what I told you guys to do. And when you weigh in, you have your maintenance calories area, BMR, right? And then you go to what's called a macronutrient calculator. Okay, and what you'll do is you plug in your numbers into this macronutrient calculator, and most of them use what's called the Mueller equation, and I like that one because it doesn't take into account it uses your body, like your body mass index. It uses what like you're currently at, and it also uses your gender, which a lot of them don't do, and that one I think plays a big role in it as well. Bueller, yeah. Hold on, let me read this. So if you just go to a macronutrient calculator, you might get different readings if you go to multiple different sources. I like to use there's one called If It Fits Your Macros macro calculator, and I can send links and everything to you guys to have access to all that. What I should actually do, let me just actually show you guys so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. So InBody does calculate. Let's see if it goes right there. InBody does calculate your BMR, but it does not get your. This is the one I use here. This is what I've been using, right? Now they try to sell you something at the end, but you don't have to. It used to be just for free. So you plug in all of your numbers here. Yes, I'm 29. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just use what's on here, and I'm using myself for this, and you guys could all see this, right? Ellie, you can see this? Yeah. Okay, and I'm definitely not 305. Not even close. I'm more like 204 right now. My goal weight isn't 305 either. I hope it's not that for you guys. I'll say my goal weight is 195. We'll just say that in terms, because most of us want to cut, right? All right, just check my body fat. Don't judge me, guys. Okay. And now this is where you can go to your active. So it gets down to the specifics, right? What I like about this is it allows you to choose. All right, you exercise fairly regularly, at least 3 to 4 times a week. All right, and that's going to be, I work out so much that I can make it a career. Hey, guess what? That's exactly what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. All right. How experienced are you? Intermediate, beginner, advanced, right? I would start with just intermediate. Oh, look at this one. Even right now, they just updated it now. I work out at home or the gym, right? How many days per week? Lifting. We'll say 3 days, 60 minutes. That's perfectly light, moderate. Like, it breaks everything down, guys. I'm talking like everything. All right. So again, this is it's the name of it's IIFYM. If it fits your macros is the abbreviation there. IIFYM.com. You guys can see that up here. I'll link it. I'll actually copy that and post it on the notes for you guys to go ahead and have. That way you guys can go ahead and basically we'll just leave the settings there. We'll say cardio 360, difficult, moderate. How fast do you want to lose weight? Now, this is important right here because steady and sustainable is typically where we want to be, right? For the most of us, right? Unless you got a trip to Mexico next week, there's no reason why you should be any of these two. All right. The reason for that is because slow and steady wins a race. It's pretty simple. We know that there's been studies. If you're too aggressive with trying to lose body fat, yes, you'll lose the body fat, but you're also going to damage your metabolic capacity. Essentially, you're lowering the amount of calories that you can burn, because what's going to happen is you're going to tap into your lean body mass. Now that's not your muscle, but it's going to also affect your lean body mass as well. So when you're losing body fat, or when you're trying to cut at an intense rate, or too fast, basically, you start to tap into that lean body mass number. And you're not necessarily losing all fat, you are losing pounds though. So I like to use steady and sustainable. Nutritional preference, I mean, it even goes as far as that goes. Just stick to standard Western, unless you're a vegan or anything else. And if you would have, and this is kind of where they want you to buy something here. You don't have to, just click none. Total noob, semi-aware, right? Let's go with semi-aware. I've done this a couple of times. And then you'll just go here and they'll send you something. I'll do mine. Maybe. Okay. Let's keep going. And so it gives an explanation of everything. Okay. And then basically it'll send you your numbers. Let me see if it gives me my numbers or not. Now, again, there's going to be, what did I miss? You got to make sure you go through all the questions, because it looks like I missed something here. Probably this one here. Yeah. All right. Oh, so it's going to send it to my email, basically, is what it's saying. Yeah. So they want you to buy something, but they'll send it to me. I'll see if I can pull it up right now for you guys. Let me get off of this though. So it's a really easy process, right? And all it is just plug in everything in. Now, again, this is for those of you guys who want to know exactly where your deficit needs to be, because for the most part, a lot of us are guessing, and we kind of just like, it's like the cat chasing the mouse. We're just trying to find that sweet spot of finding that deficit that works for us. How many times have you tried, to maybe just clean up your eating and you find that works for you, but after a certain amount of time, it starts to plateau. It just starts to stay stagnant. And then what do you do at that point? And that's the basis here is that this can help you to get over that hump. This can help you to kind of get over that and continue to get results. Because it's not about just getting to a certain point with us, right? Every time we get to a certain goal and we meet that goal, we just push to the next goal. We just kind of find what the next thing is to do. And that's kind of where I think a lot of the disconnect is like you hit a goal and you're like, oh crap, what's next? And for the majority of us, we have this tier of goals. And maybe one of them is losing 5 pounds in a month. I know all of us right now have, if you can think of like 3 goals, a lot of you guys posted them. A lot of you guys put them on the Facebook page. Like those are what we want, but those are monthly goals, right? That's just the step, right? What's at the top of the staircase? And it's a lot more than just losing like the right now. This is just going to help us to get past this point right now. If you've always been wondering, right? Like what is my formula? What is exactly going to work for me? Right? It's like the triangle offense that when the Lakers first came out, that triangle offense, it was the perfect formula. Like they figured it out and it worked for them. So that's kind of what you guys have to find here. And using the macros approach isn't better or worse than using just the clean eating, but it will allow you to pinpoint and get exact numbers for you as a specific person. And that's just the reality of it. Now, I've been doing the macronutrient stuff for quite a while now, so I know what my maintenance is, right? If my body fat drops a little bit or raises up a little bit, I know that my maintenance is going to move up. The formulas are pretty much like secondhand for me because I started off doing macronutrients when I first started with nutrition, and that's kind of where. But right now, we're dealing with such weird times, and we're dealing with things where, well, what if I can't get the foods that are, like the cleanest, or what if I can't get everything that's on the recipe or the menu right now? So that's kind of where we're falling into at this point. And I don't want you guys to use that as an excuse to fall off of following any type of specific meal plan. Now, I hate to use the word diet, and I don't know if you guys have heard me say that other than talking about the ketos and the vegans and stuff earlier. I don't like to really use that word because what we teach is we're lifestyle managers. Like we're not dietitians. I don't even like the word personal trainer. Like we are lifestyle managers, and our job is to manage your guys' lifestyle, to help you guys get you on the right paths. And so this is just a tool that I've used personally that I wanted to share with all of you guys. And some of you guys can take it. Some of you guys can be like, I'll stick with my clean eating. But I guarantee you, if you want to take it to that next level, you have to get more specific, right? Just think about it. We all kind of played sports growing up. Anybody can get out there and kind of, play sports. All the kids, they have participation trophies and stuff. As you get to higher levels though, you have to be better. You have to have certain skills. You have to have that certain skill set in order to be successful there. Same thing with your nutrition. As you get better and better and better, your skill set has to improve. Your knowledge has to improve. And the way you approach it has to somewhat change as well. All right. So wanted to just quickly touch on this topic since I did mention the word diet, right? A lot of people have that's just a bad word for me. That's like the F word. Okay. But basically every single type and form of diet out there uses calorie tracking or macronutrients as their advantage, right? They don't say that off the back. They kind of have their own agenda there, but they all work in a sense because they all do the same thing, and that's they all cut calories. They all do some type of caloric adjustment that allows you to kind of your calories go down. When we know that when our calories go down, we're in a caloric deficit, right? Which means if we're burning here, but we're eating here, right? That's going to be good no matter what. It doesn't matter what type of calories you're having. That will matter at some point. But most of the diets that are out there, they work in a sense because they all alter your caloric intakes. Okay, so I want you guys to really keep that in mind. Now, anybody who does keto, just raise your hand. Right? I know a couple of you guys, I've talked to you guys about doing keto, and so they've done studies. They've done studies with keto, and they've done them where they took a group that was running the keto program, and then they took a group that was running more of a balanced, nutritional meal plan, which means that they had a plethora of carbs. They had a ton of carbs. The calories were pretty much the same, right? They were all consuming, both groups were consuming the same amount of calories. They were also resistance training 3 days per week, 3 or 4 days per week. And what we found was that the balance group, or the group that was having the carbs, actually gained more lean body mass, they gain more muscle. So anybody who said that they can, that like they're able to sustain, and yes, you can sustain energy, and that's perfectly normal. But when it comes to your specific goal, if your goal has anything to do along the lines of gaining muscle, there's your answer right there. Okay, carbs do play a big role in muscle protein synthesis. I'm not going to get down into all of that right now, but it is an essential to that process of recovering and helping to build muscle. So that's just kind of where we're at, guys. I mean, it's really goes back. It can run in a circle all you want, but like calories in, calories out. Like, are you adjusting for the given times right now? If you're not working, I want you guys to think, like, you personally, if you're not working right now, or you're not running the same schedule that you were running a month ago, does that mean that you have to adjust your calories in now? For the majority of us, it's a yes. Even if we are working, we're probably not working to the same capacity, or the same, we're not hitting the same caloric output and the same calories going out. So that's when we have to adjust. Macronutrients just helps you to pinpoint that and get those exact numbers. That way you know how to do it. Okay. Again, there's probably going to be a lot of questions about this, but I try not to make it too complicated. There's a lot of resources to help get you the numbers that you need in order to kind of, there's all these different formulas that you can go through and stuff, but like, it's unnecessary. You want to make it as simplified as possible. But right now, we're in a time to where maybe right now would be an ideal time to take control, or take better control of your nutrition. One of the better ways to do it, if you have the time available, is definitely going to be, using your macronutrients and tracking that. If you're tracking your macronutrients, we know that you're tracking your calories, right? So you're going to kill 2 birds, 1 stone there. And it's finding that balance, right? Nutrition being one of the main pillars of fitness. Yeah, we're still exercising. Yes, we're still getting our water. Most of you guys, I hope you're still recovering. You guys are getting your supplements. That nutrition still needs to be that main building block for you. And if you have the time right now to delegate to it, make sure you guys are doing that. You got to take control. You got to take initiative when it comes to these kinds of things. And at the end of the day, like, if you do use this time right now, it's like a term that I've used now. You track now, coast later. If you track now and you learn what foods kind of have now, you later down the road, when it comes to, like, maybe you doing this again, or maybe your body composition changes and you're like, you know what, I want to retrack and see what my macronutrient intake needs to be. Well, you kind of already have an idea of how to formulate that because you've done it before. So it's like, once you do something, it's like riding a bike, right? Like, once you do this and you're repetitive with it for a consistent, like, a month, it's something that you kind of, like, you don't lose sight of. Especially if it works for you, it's going to be something that you're going to actually want to continue to do. And it's rough the first, like, week or two when you're constantly having to do things, but we're pretty much creatures of habit anyways. We all pretty much eat the same things, right? Even if you're clean eating, you can still clean eat and track your macronutrients at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. You can combine the two, right? So don't overcomplicate it, guys. Just make sure that you are staying diligent with, whether, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're eating clean still, if you're continuing with that, that's going to be something that, like, I want each and every single person here to be a resource for each other. So if you're here right now and let's say you've went grocery shopping in the last day or two, and you know that they have, they're loaded up with, like, turkey or something like that at, Costco or something like that. Like, don't be afraid to share that with others. Don't think that you're going to buy all the turkey for yourself. Like, that's what we're here for. We're a family. Like I said, we're in this together. So we got to make sure we're helping each other out. Like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, that type of thing. right? You tell me where the food is, I'll tell you where the food is. That's how it's going to work. We got to work with each other here, guys, because that's what it comes down to. Is if we don't stick with each other during this time, it's just making it harder for one another. And as Fit and 42, we're one big family. I don't care where you're at. I don't care if you're in Texas, you're here in the Valley, or if you're out in Santa Monica over there with Tonita. It does not matter. All right. Like, we want to make sure that everybody is going to come out on top here. And so it's like with today, I just wanted to share the macronutrient approach to you guys because I know that it works. I've done it. Some of you guys may have done it before. Yes, it's a little tedious at first, but hey, once you get it going, it's pretty much coasting from there. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into some questions. I actually went longer than I was planning on going. But let me dive into some questions here. Let me see what you guys have. I'll start from some of the Casey said Texas in the house. It's like midnight out there, right, Case? No, they're only 2 hours ahead. It's only 10. Oatmeal. All right. Is that a question or a comment, Noel? I don't know. There's a limit on buying meat in Texas. Can't buy it all. That's probably true. There's a limit everywhere. I think they have limits everywhere. Let's see here. Vanessa said, I got the stuff. So what carbs do I recommend? Let's start there. Again, so if we go back to on the glycemic index chart, like stay away from like the high starch stuff, anything like anything white, anything that we've had like Vanessa, like with Fit and 42. The reason why we give you those complex carbs is because they're going to be like lower or medium on the glycemic index, which means they're going to take some time to digest. And those are going to be your brown rice, your whole wheats, your quinoa. What else did we give you guys on that? Sweet potatoes, like anything that's been on any of your guys' menus or anything that we've given you, those are all going to be like more of the lower or mid glycemic index, better carbs, basically. They're more complex. So like digestive wise, they're going to get you fuller a little bit longer and they're going to carry you into your next meal. All right. So let's see here. Intermittent fasting. I did mention kind of that. There's been studies that have been shown intermittent fasting as opposed to or skipping breakfast, if you would. That's probably the better term for that. Because most people who intermittent fast, intermittent fasting is just another type of diet that's actually newly created. That's only been out since like maybe the early 2000s. And all that is people use that as like an excuse to label themselves not having breakfast. They called it intermittent fasting. And the way what you're doing there is you're just decreasing your caloric intake because you're giving yourself a window in which you have to eat all your calories. But like I said before in the beginning, was protein is one of those things where you really don't want to play catch up throughout. You kind of want, and that's why I can't stress enough having a protein shake first thing in the morning. Whether you work out in the morning or not, you should still have your protein shake. All right. Anybody who has not had Jerry's recipe for his morning protein shake, Jerry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's he does his coffee, black coffee, right? And then he'll put in like I think it's a cup or half cup of almond milk or coconut milk, whichever one. Jerry's somewhere in there. And then he does 2 scoops of the caramel latte protein. You could do 1, you could do 2. I mean, it's not going to hurt you. And then he'll throw it in ice or blend it up. Maybe he'll make it like a smoothie out of it. And that's his morning shake. So now he's getting his energy and he's getting his protein all in one. Okay. That's something that I've tried before too. I personally I liked having my coffee separate. So I just prefer it that way. But that's, Casey said that was his shake and Jerry stole it. So that's the story we're going to go with there. We'll go with that. Let's see, how effective would a small handful of almonds be instead of a shake before a workout? Okay, so that's a very good question. So you gotta really listen to your body on that one. Which it depends on what the goal is too there, Casey. So you gotta identify what your specific goal is, and then you can alter your nutrition and even your macronutrients to fit that goal. So I would say that's really a preference there. I would personally still stick with the shake because it's a liquid form. You might be able to get away with having the almonds. They may or may not come up. I've eaten right before a workout, even something like small, and it is not sat well. I personally prefer the shake, but I mean the effectiveness, you're still going to get energy because you're getting calories, right? It just depends on if your body's going to respond better to protein or if it's going to respond better to fat. Hope that answered your question there. And no carbs pre-workout. Pre-workout, I really won't get into that. That's probably more of like a supplement question there. And I think we're going to be doing a supplement seminar pretty soon. MCT oil. Let's see what other questions we have. I want to kind of focus on any questions with along with like the macronutrients. Let's see. Carbs, I already talked about that. So what's more important, carbs or calories? That's a good question, actually, Ellie. So Ellie asked, what's more important, carbs or calories? Well, it's actually going to be your protein, because when you go to get all of your different macronutrients, your protein is going to be the most important, because that's really the main part of the formula that they work. If your protein is where it needs to be, it literally almost doesn't matter where your carb intake and your fat intake is. I mean, to an extent it will. So again, we're focusing on the macronutrients. We're focusing on the amount of protein, carbs, and fats you're getting, right? And that will give you the amount of calories you're going to have. But you're focusing on tracking the amounts of grams, basically the grams of protein that they give you, and that's all given to you when you plug in all your information in that formula that I told you guys. Okay. Let's see. Did anyone else have questions that I didn't really get to earlier? Like along the lines of like tracking and all this and everything we were talking about? Because you guys are kind of going down. So food combinations, Casey was just asking right now, or like I mean, that falls along the lines of absorption as well. Again, so this is for me when I'm doing all my macronutrient. The first thing I'm gonna weigh out is gonna be my. Now you do have to be more precise when it comes to tracking. And with protein, the easiest thing to do is it gives you options. You can take the amount of grams that it gives you for that. Let's say for me, it's like going to be, I'll say 180 grams of protein per day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break that up into however many meals I'm going to have. Let's say I have 4 meals a day, and I would go ahead and just break that up. So you divide it by 4, and then you're going to have that amount of protein, or that many grams per serving of however many meals you're having. So it really depends on how many meals you're having as well. Some people have 3, some people have 6. That's just going to be, and then you do the same thing with your carbs and the same thing with your fat. So a lot of it is finding the right formula and finding the foods, right, to meet those numbers that you're getting with your macronutrients. Because most of us are used to just having, the calories, and we measure it out. Maybe we'll use our hand. We don't actually measure out the food. So with that, the other thing that comes with the macronutrients is that you do have to be a little bit more, you have to be a little bit more aware of the amount of the servings that you're having, because that does play a huge role in making sure you're getting the correct numbers. That was a great question, Case. Thanks. Now, when it comes to absorption, that's more of a, like, those kinds of questions are more like along the lines of the individual. Let's see. Somebody plugged it in here. All right, so someone said they went on and they plugged in all their numbers, and they got 102 protein as a goal, and beginning around 130, probably about 125. So you can alter that. There should have been a number in there that said if you wanted your protein intake like as far as your percentages go? There are percentages, but usually the percentages are going to be all dictated based on the amount of like the if you have a timeline. So if you have a goal and you have a timeline, let's say you need to lose that fat now, the percentages are going to be a lot different. All right. So usually if it's like slow and steady, it'll give you a consistent percentage. And that's usually like carbs about 40%, protein, I think at 35, and then the rest is fat. Let's see, we got a sweet tooth. Private answers, but anything recommend. As far as sweet tooth goes, guys, that's really just like, for me, I honestly, I throw a protein shake back. If you do have a sweet tooth though, there's all kinds of different recipes we have that are like healthier options that aren't going to give you like a ton of sugar. And I always resort to trying to having the protein in, because at least I know I'm getting that sweet tooth fix, but I'm also focusing more on the protein because it's not very much sugar. So I usually will do like a cup of Greek yogurt, and I'll mix in a scoop of protein in it. My kids actually love that. I do like the snickerdoodle, and they'll eat that all day. So that's something that you can definitely do as well. But I would just say, like with that, just like you got to kind of train yourself, because that's a rough one, man. Like when you're dealing with sweet tooths, you really just gotta have like a lot of self-control, because that can make or break you big time. My thoughts on cheat meals or refeed days. I didn't want to get into that one today. I think that would be in a whole different day. But definitely with cheat meals and stuff, that can be something that does help reset hormones, fat burning hormones, like all that stuff. And that it's just not something I necessarily like wanted to touch today. Again, we're going to be doing these seminars like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we're going to have specific topics. This one, it happened. I think it was new. So a lot of you guys had a lot of questions. But I think that'll actually be probably the next one that I do. It's like talking about cheat meals and stuff. BCAAs help a lot of sweet tooth cravings. That's definitely a plus. BCAAs in your water and stuff, like just sipping on that maybe. BCAA popsicles. You can make some popsicles out of BCAAs. You can kind of like, you can freeze them and have them like that. Giving you guys everything. Let's see. Carb up. Okay. BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, Casey. We sell those at the studios. Team Blackberry Lemonade over here. That's my go-to, Blackberry Lemonade. And basically that's just gonna help with recovery and helping rebuild the muscles. Now you can use that because it does have flavor to it. You can use that, but it does make it in a popsicle. That's kind of like almost like having a popsicle ice cream there. Nicole, I'm not understanding your question. I'm gonna have, this is gonna be my last question right here. She was asking, should I do a carb up day? Oh, she said, I do keto. Should I do a carb up day? It's hard to get through workout sometimes. So with keto, basically it's like you have to get away from I think the keto, and then get more into like carb cycling. And I'll message you personally, and we'll talk about that, Nicole, to get you on like more of a consistent. But I think right now is like you're dealing with like a lot of it's stuff that naturally comes with when people are running the keto. So I wouldn't even stress about it too much. But we'll get you on like more of a carb cycling. And I want you guys to try it. I'll give you guys some feedback. Let me share with you guys that link. I know I copied it earlier. That way you guys can go ahead and you guys can copy and paste it. I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to go ahead and grab that. But yeah, guys, again, I wanted to stick with just like the macronutrient part of things, but I know we got into a lot more, and that's just going to lead me to more seminars that are going to have, answer more of these questions for you guys. It's a lot. There's a lot of different avenues of nutrition. Clean eating and tracking your food using their macronutrients just tends to be like the most beneficial, because it allows you to get specific. And if we want to have specific goals, we got to get specific with our nutrition as well. Right. And in these times, we got to make sure that we are staying as specific as possible, especially because our exertion, our calories out, isn't probably where it usually is. So what should a calorie intake be if you're burning less calories a day? You're probably not burning less than 1,000 calories a day, Ali. I can almost guarantee that. I'll pull up your last weigh-in though, and I'll check on that. All right. Did everybody get a chance to copy that link there? Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, that wraps up macronutrients, and just like again, that's just that's something that I want you guys to definitely consider trying. Definitely consider tracking your food. You know, it's just going to help you to be a lot more consistent. You know, it's worked for us as coaches. A lot of us have resorted to that. Like we've probably gone through this. I can probably speak for all the coaches when I say that we've all done something along the lines of that. So we know that it works, right? And if you need that accountability, that's going to take it that extra mile. So I want you guys to make sure you guys are giving me some feedback. If you guys are having a hard time getting your numbers, I can help you guys get all that stuff. And let's just stay consistent, guys. You got to remember, we're in this together, and we all got to come out on top. All right. So you guys keep killing it in those classes, man. I'm loving all these Zoom classes. I'm loving everything we got going on. We got our special booty class tomorrow at 8 a.m. with Coach Dulce. So you guys get ready for that. And if not, you know, we always have our regular classes as well. So just keep doing it, man. You guys are doing amazing work. I know it's a rough time right now, and I just appreciate all the support, everything you guys are doing for us at all of our studios. So 10 a.m. for the Texans. You guys are 10 a.m. 8 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. for the Texas people there. So I don't want to confuse you guys there. All right, you guys. I'm gonna let me get out of here now. Have a great evening, guys. Hope you guys got a lot of information out of that. Let me know if you have questions. Just go ahead and send me a message directly. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon, or we'll see you guys on Friday with Coach Ryan. All right, have a great night.